welcome back. More so, welcome back to me because it's been a month and I'm back from my solo adventures around Thailand. This is the episode I'm going to base mostly around Thailand. There'll be another separate episode for what happened after Thailand. But no, I'm actually sitting in the living room of my house in the one tiny patch of sunshine that I could find. And I hope that it just kind of holds for the whole episode because your girl's been playing in 38 degrees for more part of like a month. Comes back to like less than 10 degrees and it's just like, I actually think I'm warm from the core from Asia. Like, I don't even know how to describe the intense feeling. Like, I think anything above 30 is okay, but when you start to come back to like freezing temperatures, everyone was so concerned. They were like, Dani, it's actually freezing. So yeah, look, it's not ideal. And maybe I've gone from one extreme to the other, but that's fine. Anyway, this episode is going to be all about my adventure. I have tried to articulate for the past, 5 days, the different friends and stuff about my trip. And honestly, I 1,000 million trillion % am still processing this whole thing. It's been such a whirlwind and so overwhelming in the best kind of way. I don't know. I feel like I just need an episode just to get it off my chest and just talk it out because, yeah, it was the most emotionally overwhelming experience that I had no expectations. So obviously, like, I was really flying into this completely blind. In saying that, there's a few statistics I will share. The whole trip entailed 11 flights, 9 hotels, 3 weeks, multiple different locations. It was like I planned it, so it wasn't like it was foreign. The whole thing was planned out. And in the days leading up to my departure, I was passing on my itinerary to a few friends that were going to track me, and it was actually just an exciting time for everyone else except me. Obviously, just off the bat of what happened to me before I left, my tires got slashed. There's some very unhinged, emotionally unstable people in my community, so it was a whole thing. It basically threw me off from like my actual preparations for my trip. My brain was just in the toilet. I was like, holy crap, I have to leave my house for like a month and there's like crazy people on the loose. And so I just more or less didn't want to leave my mum for that kind of shit. Like, it's just not ideal. So the day of, Wednesday the 13th of May, my departure, I was leaving for Auckland at 11 a.m. So we had to go over to Queenstown relatively early. Of course, I wanted to see my brother before I left, give him a hug. You know, he had all the well wishes to send me off. However, I was crying before I left the house. Like, it was barely 7 in the morning. I was a frazzled mess. There was packing that wasn't done. It was just a case of like, my bag felt heavy, but I was like adamant that there was no way it was 20 kilos. Like, I just kind of overthought a few things and I didn't really plan too much in the packing sense. Like, it was pretty good. It just wasn't like, I had no idea what to pack. So that was just, I don't know. So I was running around like a headless chicken. I cried twice. I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm scared I'm backing out. And then I wasn't. And then my mum had to deliver me to the airport. I didn't see my brother beforehand. So obviously I had every bit of support under the sun. It was just, I was an emotional mess. I don't know. Like, it was so overwhelming. And then my brother was just so cool and calm and collected. And I was like, oh, God damn it, kid. I wish you were the one coming on this trip with me because sometimes I just need to be grounded, like centered. And there's no one better than him. He's just such a quiet little, we're chalk and cheese. I'm loud and proud. He's quiet and reserved. So yeah, look, mum dropped me off at Queenstown Airport and I told her don't stay. I was like, I'm going. And then I got through the departure lounge and I burst into tears and I had to put my sunglasses on. I was like, oh my God, this is tears number 3. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like once I found out the bag that I was carrying was only 15 kilos, I was like, oh my gosh, have I not packed enough? What's happening? I've never done this before where I've like been under the like weight restrictions for a flight ever in my life. But in saying that, like, I always go on a vacation or whatever and go to a specific location. I think the whole backpacking Asia was just, what the heck am I doing? This is so foreign to me. Once I got to Auckland and I kind of got over that first flight, I was thinking, this is fine, I've got this. I met up with a friend in Auckland airport and we had a couple of drinks, we had a big chat. It was like over the course of 4 hours. He was amazing, obviously hugely supportive. So when he actually actually delivered me to the Auckland departure lounge. We both were so short with each other just because we were both crying, and that was tears number 4 and 5. Obviously, I was just, oh my God, like this is it, I'm going to go and check in for my flight to China. And my brain was just like, oh, what am I doing? And you guys know, obviously, I've been learning Duolingo to learn a few Chinese things just to be like more polite and be more respectful for the fact that I was visiting the country, and maybe even checking in and being a little bit cheeky and asking for a flight upgrade. However, my goodness, was I let down to actually get to Auckland departures and be checking in, and every single one of those chickies that were checking people in were all pure Kiwi. There was nothing Chinese about any of them. I got a really cool check-in counter person, and they were just kind of talking me through it. Like, it is a weird location. It's not the normal like Beijing, China, or Hong Kong or anything like that. It's more, it's a factory district. It's a weird flight. People, I don't know. I really look back on it now and I'm like, what was I thinking? But when I was actually getting prepared to board the plane, I was sitting up in the departure area, and it was kind of late at night. I think it was like 8:30. I had a couple of haiketsus in the Auckland lounge. I was like, if I just kind of take the edge off, like, this will be completely fine. I wouldn't be fearing the fact that I'm going to China on a 12-hour flight. Like, this is normal, And as I was sitting in the departure lounge, I look over and there's this woman. I don't know if it was like a sign from the universe, but she had her toes intertwined with her fingers, and she was just sitting there like massaging her foot, barefoot, eating a boiled egg. And I, like, you guys know my fear about people that eat boiled eggs before flights. Like, no one needs a fart on a plane, like, really. So I just kind of looked at her and I burst out laughing, and I was like, oh, if the universe was throwing me a sign like, this is it, don't freaking get on this plane. So I had one last phone call to my mum, who calmed me down, and she was like, this is stupid, don't worry about her, she's probably just, getting herself all, I don't know, massaged up before a long flight, like, you should be doing it too. I was like, Susan, I'm currently sitting here putting my compression socks on, sitting next to an absolutely gorgeous white guy, and I'm questioning all my decisions. And so she was like, Dani, just move one foot in front of the other and get on that damn plane. So yeah, look, I think all in all on that actual Wednesday, I cried 11 times. I wasn't counting, but in my mind, I was like, I actually just could not turn off the waterworks. So I boarded the plane, and it happened so fast. It was like, if I'm just going to keep going with it and move quickly, then I'm just not going to be hyper aware of what I'm doing, so it'll be fine. So I get to my seat, and there's like 2 of the softest red blankets I've ever felt in my life. And I was like, is this a joke? What I didn't cotton on to was it was the configuration of 3, 4 seat and then 3 seats. So it was a big plane, but the middle seat didn't have anything on it. And I was thinking, am I supposed to have 2 blankets, or like, is the middle seat not got a headset? Like, what's happening? Anyway, I was texting my brother. I said, on the back of the tray table, apparently we get Wi-Fi. You can communicate with me the whole way. Don't stress. And this girl sits down on the end on the aisle seat. And I was a little bit hesitant, and I was like, oh, do I say hello or whatever? Like, obviously this is someone that's going to be sitting next to me for a while. So I just kind of leaned over and I was like, hello. And she was like, oh, you speak English? And I was just looking at her like, I beg your pardon? Like, I'm in New Zealand. Like, why would I not speak English? But in hindsight, now I think about it, I'm like, there was a lot of people on my trip that I thought would speak English, but they were not. So anyway, I get it now from another solo traveler's perspective. She leaned over and she was like telling me that she was actually going to this strange place in China, Haikou, and then transferring to Vietnam. And I was like, that's totally cool. I'm going to Bangkok. I'm doing the same as you. We've got layovers in Haikou, so it's completely cool. She'd never flown this airline. She was amazed at the menu. Like, we got given these paper menus and amenities kit, compression socks, earplugs, face masks, hand sanitizers. It was like elite. I was sitting there like, holy crap, like, this is a lot of cool stuff. And these soft blankets and pillows. I was like, this is like comfort. So I was not hesitant, and there was this beautiful screen in front of me, more so than I've ever seen on like a Qantas or a Jetstar or a Virgin flight. And it was such a big screen with these huge windows. And I just thought, this is exceeding my expectations. So I was a happy girl. And me and this Vicky, we were just chatting. It was like the most chillest flight I've ever been on in my life. The actual air hostesses were walking up and down the aisles with pitchers of vodka and orange, like 2-litre jugs to pour. And I was like, I'm living my best dream. Like, this is amazing. Anyway, out of the 150 movies on the screen, there was 4 in English. The rest were Chinese. So I think I watched Titanic twice. I slept pretty well. I was curled up in a ball. No need for like anything extra to be taken in order to sleep. It was so much space. It was ridiculous. The food, I don't know, like it kind of dawned on me that this was going to be, a breakfast and a dinner. So I was not thinking about it. And then she was just like, what do you want from the menu? And I said the pork. It was the most delicious char siu pork I've ever had in my life, and it was on a plane. I thought that was weird. It was a 4-course situation with an appetizer, dessert, the main, the cocktail, the drink. They had this really big thing about fruit. There was a lot of fruit, crackers, dessert. I think that was like a cheesecake and something else. But yeah, like all in all, that experience just really threw me that it was actually that calm and beautiful. I was just like, wow, I'm actually doing this. I'm going on this adventure and it's off to a really great start. So all in all, 10 out of 10, would absolutely do it again. And my absolute great friend who's just starting up a travel agency, he was like, how on earth did you manage to book from Auckland to Bangkok via China for it to be like barely $400 and you actually enjoyed it? I was like, I know, I hate flying. I hate it. So yeah, it's been really great to pass on that kind of feedback and just say, hey, look, if anyone's even thinking about going to Bangkok or Vietnam, take the risk and go to China, because what people don't actually know is that airline, if you have more than an 8-hour layover, they put you up in a hotel for free. So once I got to China, I think it was actually quite overwhelming. Something weird everyone should know is that airport in Haikou does not have air conditioning. It was super muggy and hot. They are very forward with their technology. So you get off the plane and they're scanning you and you're making sure that you're not sick. So that's already overwhelming. And then all of a sudden we're trying to do visas and things to enter the country for, 8 to 12 hours so that you can move around and not be confined to, a strict departure lounge. And then that's when things got a little bit weird because we didn't know where we were. We couldn't fill in forms. It was all Chinese. I was like, oh, I'm failing at life. Anyway, me and the chickie that was sitting next to each other, we helped each other. A couple of other people from Auckland, they cottoned on to it and that we all helped each other. We actually all ended up on the same bus to the hotel together. We all got our own separate rooms, which is great. We all had showers and caught up again throughout the 8 hours. It was such a just chill thing. I can't even describe it really. There was a free shuttle that went from the hotel to the airport, so I jumped on that just to go back to the airport for food. There was obviously all the takeaway places, which were great. I had McDonald's in China, which was weird. They don't take Visa or MasterCard, so you had to upload money to a different sort of a pay thing. It was overwhelming because I hadn't slept. It was super hot, but in saying that, I really enjoyed my time in China. It was a weird airport, though, to be fair. I do have photos of it where they had the check-in counters in these air-conditioned containers. And you kind of just, walked in and just kind of put your bag on this belt and then checked in. I thought, this is a bit, I don't know. I feel like China's very not hands-on. They don't want to borrow you. It's so weird. Still haven't slept. It's almost, 24 hours since I left New Zealand. And, I really struggled to kind of wind down. I think my adrenaline was just pumping. I was like, this evening at 4 o'clock, I'm going to be going to Bangkok. I'm very excited. So anyway, I get back to the airport. I'm checking in. Everything's all sweet. Go through to, start my process to go to Bangkok. Keeping in mind that obviously it's another international flight, so I got through the international lounge. Haikou Airport only has one eatery, and it's a beef black bean bloody hole-in-the-wall thing that you can get a ramen. I don't even know what it was, to be fair. Maybe it was a soup. I can't even remember. So me being my cheeky self, I walked up to this executive lounge, and I thought, I'm going to actually push the boat out here. And I don't know why, but I just kind of said to them, I use MasterCard, and I think it was a lost in translation sort of situation. I don't know how it came about, but she was like, if you have MasterCard, you can enter for free. And I was like, I have MasterCard. I literally have a max out credit card that's got maybe $1,500 on it. And it was MasterCard. So I flashed it. She let me in, and I thought, I don't even care at this stage. So I go into this lounge and I'm on the phone to my brother, just like laughing about what's happening. I was literally starving, so I had this weird clear dumpling soup and a couple of beers, and then everything that was in that lounge that happened to be in a convenient kind of packet, I managed to pick up and throw in my purse, and just kind of like, I literally left China with a heavier bag when I left New Zealand, because I took on like all these coconut rolls and crackers and stupid biscuits I've never even heard of. I was taking photos of so many food products and putting them into ChatGPT, and I was like, what is this? What am I eating? So yeah, look, biggest takeaway here is that if you have MasterCard, just flash it. I don't even know. If you've got a credit card, it's almost like it's a golden key to the city. It's weird because McDonald's doesn't take credit cards, yet the lounge does, but they don't swipe it. They just need to see the emblem. I don't know. Imagine if you have like a black Amex. Imagine how far you go with that. Anyway, the whole thing with like going to Bangkok was just a lot. There was girls in the China departure lounge that were filming TikToks, and I noticed it because I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, they were quite in sync. They were very talented at what they were doing. Anyway, these girls were sitting in the row ahead of me on the way to Bangkok, and I thought, like, there's no TVs on the back of the seats. I don't know where I'm flying over. I actually got quite overwhelmed. And this is probably the only flight I got overwhelmed on, because I hadn't slept and I was convinced that the plane was too high up, which is a weird statement. I know, I get it. But I was like adamant that the pilot had gone too high up. And I was thinking, holy crap, we're higher than 32 or 35,000 feet. Like, I feel like I'm at like 40,000. But in hindsight, how am I to, like, I'm not meant to judge, you know, like, I'm not the pilot. Why do I care? So, anyway, these chickies that were in front of me, they got on the plane with bare faces, and I thought that was weird because it was an international flight. But anyway, they started applying their makeup, and it took them the whole flight to do their eye makeup. And I was thinking, oh my goodness me, like, you know, I just would never, like, I don't even think I packed foundation. I packed a mascara, and that was it. I was like, flog it. I'm going to an island. Like, I don't even care. But obviously it meant more to them. I don't know. It was a 2.5 hour flight, and they were just heavily packing on the makeup. They barely looked like they were 15 years old. So anyway, this girl, as she was putting her eye makeup on, she kept flashing the mirror, and the mirror kept catching my eye. And I didn't mean to try and look at her, but I was like, what is she doing? Anyway, I was looking out the window. I was checking around what's going on. A weird thing that happened on the flight that I got told off about was they ran a duty-free cart full of cigarettes up the centre of the plane. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore. But yeah, they were selling cigarettes on the way to Bangkok on Hainan Airlines. I am looking at the clock and I'm like, this is already a 20-minute podcast. We haven't even got to Bangkok yet. Fuck! Anyway, I knew from people's experiences that Bangkok airport was going to be overwhelming. So I kind of was prepared, but it wasn't really on my mind. I didn't really care. Anyway, these chickies, you know, they were still putting on their makeup, and I was like, I'm going. So the overwhelming excitement of landing in Bangkok is just, I still to this minute am so happy with the whole thing that transpired in Bangkok. There was just literally nothing I could say that would be ever so slightly upsetting about that whole time. I was not pissed that there was like multiple lines of, you know, immigration or anything like that. People have said to me, Dani, you've got blood clots, you can go to the side where there's the disabilities and just say that you've got DVTs and go straight through, you know, or you could line up. And I was kind of a little bit like hesitant, like, how big is the line? What are we talking? And then once I actually got there, and like, if you've ever been to Bangkok airport, that shit is like 9 stories high, and the amount of people that are moving, it's like, oh my goodness me. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was just like, what do I do? You know? And so I didn't get to line up for that long. It was probably like 10 minutes. And it was moving so quickly. It's like these people that are immigration are completely conditioned to just process people. And it was such a fast thing. The poor bloke in front of me, though, he got denied. And then I started freaking out because the guy had said to me, is he with you? And I was like, no. He was from England, but he hadn't done his visa correctly, which is something you're supposed to do 3 days before arriving. Maybe he did it longer than that. I don't know. So he had to go back to the start, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is me. Anyway, I could see on the other side of this guy, the immigration officer, I counted 22 baggage carousels. That's how many flights were just like continually processing. And I'm thinking, holy shit, if he says that I'm not allowed entry and I have to go back to the start like old mate did, like my bag, my poor backpack from New Zealand is going to be circling on this damn thing for bloody ages. Anyway, I got processed and I was through, and I just stood there and I was like, oh, fuck, it started. So ran down to Carousel J, grabbed the backpack, and then I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely did not learn about the value of $1 in Thailand. It wasn't something that I looked into. I don't know. So what I had kind of researched was how to get to my hotel very briefly. And there is multiple ways. Like I'd probably say 5 or 6 ways. There's subways, there's trains, there's, tuk-tuks, taxis, Grabs, Ubers. It's a whole collection. And this airport is conditioned for everything. So I had no cash. I had no idea. I had a backpack. It's 35 degrees. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to start this adventure with an absolute challenge of not taking a taxi or an Uber. I'm going to do this on public transport. I might even get lost in Bangkok. It doesn't matter. It's my adventure to tell. So I went right down to the ground basement level. So I was on level 8, went right down to the very bottom, and I was thinking, oh my God, I've started. Anyway, I learned on a YouTube video that I watched, you could tap your travel card. You don't have to withdraw cash. You can tap your travel card at the train station and just board. So I went up to this window and I said to the bloke, I've got to get to this hotel. And he pulled it up on the maps and it was super easy. He just said to me, go to this station, go to that station. So it's basically 2 trains, 45 cents New Zealand, 20, 25 minutes. And I was thinking, okay, that's great, because the taxi just offered me a ride for 500 baht, which in hindsight was barely 20 New Zealand dollars. But 20 New Zealand dollars compared to 45 cents, if you can do it, that's 2 different things. So I was like, well, challenge accepted. So I don't know about everyone else, but I'm quite a considerate person when I travel on public transport. I'll always stand clear. I'll always let people off before people get on. But you got to remind yourself, you're at an international airport. People are coming from all different cultures, every country, And so I'm standing to the side of this train, letting people off. There's people getting off to go to the airport. There's luggage everywhere. There's people standing in the bloody door. I'm like, would you move? It's friggin' hot. I don't know where I'm going. I'm kind of a little bit anxious about it. And you got numbnuts standing in the way trying to block doors from people getting off with the luggage. So my tolerance was already in the toilet. I'm still not slept. I think it's just pushing the boundaries of almost 40 hours here. So yeah, look, I got to the first train station and I hadn't sat down yet, and I'm carrying this 15-kilo backpack and my phone battery's on 2 or 3%. And they said, oh, you've got to change here. You've got to go and get cash out because they don't take the travel card tapping. You've got to do the right thing. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. So I ran into this hotel, which was air conditioned, used the machine. It was the first time I saw Thai money, and I was like, I don't know how to read this. I feel like I literally threw money at this poor train girl. I was like, just help me get to my hotel. I don't know what to do. And she was like, yeah, you can do this, but you should probably go downstairs and just chuck some, one of these red notes to one of the tuk-tuk drivers, and they'll take you to your hotel door, as opposed to, I don't know if you guys have seen the way the trains are in Bangkok. You've got to go up multiple stairs. Sorry, my cat has been stuck to me since I got back, like glue. He's literally licking my leg. Who put your collar on with a bell on it? God, this is my mum. She put this bell on post so that he sounds like a reindeer when he runs around, but that's how she knows where he is. Anyway, Bangkok is the transport system's so elite, it's actually my favorite thing. But yeah, I did. I ran up these stairs and I ran back down the stairs, grabbed this tuk-tuk, threw the guy some money, tried to remember the name of my hotel, and I just kind of shut my eyes. It was the first time I was like, what am I doing? But the adrenaline was just pumping. It was absolute carnage. And I just kind of remember thinking, is this a simulation? Am I doing this? I cannot even believe I'm actually doing this. And I don't think the guy really spoke too much English. He was very helpful, but at the same time, he could have taken me anywhere. There's a few things on this trip where I was like, holy crap, Dani, you actually could have been in a lot of danger. And for some reason, it didn't turn out that way. I don't know. Anyway, he drops me at the hotel. I run in the door, get my room key, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in Bangkok, it's Thursday night, what's happening? So I get into my room, I look around, I'm like, it's not even a bad room. It looks like something I would have expected. You know, the air conditioner's a little bit rattly. The bedding's a little bit like, but I get it. Like, it's hot. I don't know. It's kind of like different from New Zealand bedding in some ways. So I just kind of decided to like freshen myself up, tell all my friends that I got to Bangkok, post a video on my social media, and then run off into the streets of Bangkok and see what I could get up to for a Thursday night. This is where it gets fun. It's kind of like, it just kind of dawned on me that I was by myself, and if I wasn't going to do this, I just need to like meet people. Like, just go and be social, throw yourself out there. These people might not even know where New Zealand is on a map. You just have to start talking. So I ran down. The street that I was staying on was the most social little suburb. It was amazing. It's called Sukhumvit. I absolutely could not fault this area of Bangkok. It's funny because a few people said to me, I've never heard of where you stayed. And I was like, yeah, well, apparently it's like an up-and-coming suburb for like young people to meet people, and it's very trendy. You got one side of the motorway that's like eateries, and the other side's all nightclubs. So I kind of put myself in the best social atmosphere I wanted to be in. It was also somewhat safe. In saying that, like, I didn't know where I was, so basically nowhere was safe. So I rock up to this random bar called the Brew House, which to me in New Zealand, we've got brew houses everywhere. And I don't know, I just kind of like asked for their advice and recommendations as to what to eat or drink. Was I supposed to start eating Thai food? Like, I don't know. I gravitated towards this particular bar because they did beers with free bar snacks. And I don't know about you guys, but if you give me food while I'm drinking, 10 out of 10 in my book. So I ordered their like traditional beer, which I can't remember what it was. I think it started with S. It was the red label. And they gave me free calamari, which just, I mean, that's 10 out of 10 in my books. And the owner of the bar came out and she was like, hi, I heard that you had just arrived. And I was thinking, yeah, how did that get out? Maybe I told the waitress. I was so overtired at this stage. I was like, it was verbal diarrhea coming out of my mouth, but I didn't really remember what I'd told people. Anyway, I was like, yeah, I'm Dani. I'm from New Zealand. I just got here. I just come in from China. And it was a weird sentence. It's still weird for me to say now. Anyway, she turned out to be the best friend I'd ever make. It was absolute carnage. It was her chain of bars. She owned like 4 restaurants and 3 bars, and she owned a massage parlor. So she took me for a bit of a walk around Sukhumvit, where there was different people she introduced me to. I had a couple of beers. I moved over to Chang beer, which was what they would consider like the poorer beers. It was kind of like a lager. I don't know. I just liked it. Anyway, that night, I still remember it. On the way back to the hotel, I remember running into the 7-Eleven, which 7-Eleven is something that's like, it's a convenience store, but this is on steroids. Like, this is some factory shit that, like, if they work in a 7-Eleven, they are super trained to make sure that it's fully transactional. I literally could never fault a 7-Eleven. I filled a basket, absolutely filled a basket. Everything from ice cream to coffee to pizza, toasties. And even like skincare. For some strange reason, I picked up like skincare, everything. It was like barely $20, but the bag was full. And I remember going back to the hotel and sitting there, eating an ice cream cone, eating Doritos chips, just like tired, but not like I was full of adrenaline. I was so happy, and I just sat there like, I haven't slept in 2 days, but I'm here and I'm just happy. And then I fell asleep, which was completely fine. And then I woke up at about 5:30 Bangkok time, AM. And I thought, I'm just going to get up and go for an adventure, walk around. The fact is, my shit's safe in the hotel. I can just go and just explore. So I saw a TikTok that said that the boat system that goes up and down the river is $1. The tourists do it because you can go to really cool landmarks. You can also get a really good sense of Bangkok from the water. It just took me 40 minutes via Uber to do it. And I was thinking, oh my God, 40 minutes in an Uber, it's going to be like $100. Nah, it was barely $3.50. But honestly, best decision. Best decision. So I started at this mall called Icon Siam, and I got my little boat ticket, went for a trip up and down the river. It's basically just a big circle. Well, no, you go up and down the river, but it's a big loop to the boat people. So I did my loop. I saw a few landmarks. Everything was great. And then I just kind of like thought, oh, I'll go back to Icon Siam because it's a really cool air-conditioned luxurious mall and go for a bit of a wander, get some lunch, you know? The funny thing was, that morning I got a message from a friend and he was like, Dani, it's 6 a.m. in Thailand. Go to bed. People aren't awake now. And here's me on the rooftop pool just like planning my day. But yeah, look, it was not really anything I'd planned. I only had the one day in Bangkok. It was kind of going to be is it going to be busy or am I going to just chill? I don't know. I'm so happy with the decision I made because Icon Siam is absolutely amazing. This mall, I don't know how it happened, but I went in one door and I went down to the basement level, which is what they call a souk. And I remember watching Sex and the City and seeing when Kerry went to a souk in India. No, I lied. I don't think it was India, actually. Anyway, it was on one of the movies and she left her passport with the dude that she brought shoes off. So I already kind of thought I understood what a souk was, and I was like, okay, well, there's going to be food down there. I was overwhelmed. I mean, I'm telling you, there were piles and piles of, like, exquisite dishes and I'm thinking, oh, I'm just not really ready for this kind of street food just yet. It's not quite street food. It's still luxurious, but the quantity of food in the piles actually scared my eyes, and I thought, if you're not conditioned with your gut health or the bacteria in Thailand, you know, you're just going to get sick. So I forego all of that kind of stuff. I actually brought my first ever coconut, which he poured into this really cool cup, and it was in this little travel, I don't know, thing that I got to wear. And then I just went for a big walk, and it was so nice just to get amongst the culture of what people were interested in selling. It's essentially a market. Like, they just sell really cool things that they've made. But there's food everywhere. There's bugs, there's scorpions, you've got bloody tarantulas. It was like the most amazing Thai food I've never seen before in my life. And I just thought, I don't even know how to pronounce that, let alone eat it. So anyway, I was kind of like, what do I do now? You know, but I was a little bit hungry, and I just happened to stumble upon the most amazing restaurant that had a 40-page menu, and I just thought, you know what, go big or go home. So I ordered a pad thai that had crispy wonton strips in it with pork belly, the most amazing papaya salad, and a beer. I think I got some spring rolls as well. It was the perfect introduction to Thai food, honestly. I felt like I couldn't get sick from it. I was in a really cool restaurant. It was a Michelin star restaurant, so respectable amongst the Thai people. And it was just a really good variety. Yeah, look, I didn't go crazy with what was in the pad thai, and everyone was very like, pad thai is so boring. But I wanted to just have a slow introduction, and that suited me. What happened next? Oh my gosh. There's like an unwritten rule about papaya salad. Or is it pawpaw salad? Papaya? No, it's definitely papaya. They call it like the gut cleanse or the liver cleanse or something. And the way that it shot through me, oh, sweet child of mine. I didn't really think too much of it at the time. I just thought, well, that was weird because obviously I've eaten some strange food. It's been 2 days, you know, I've flown for 12 hours, blah, blah, blah. And I already thought my gut was just going to be like having a bit of an issue. But it was that afternoon when I'd kind of explored Bangkok a little bit more, been to a market called MBK, gone to Koh San Road and absolutely almost died because the heat was just absolutely disgusting. Like, I reckon that shit was like in the high 40s. And then I managed to get back to this random bar on the same street my hotel was on, and I met some Australian guys. And randomly in the conversation with them, he just blurted out and said, "Have you managed to have the papaya salad yet?" And I was like, what? Why would he say that? Like, how did he know? And then I was like, yeah, I had one at 11 o'clock this morning. He says, did it shoot through you? I was like, listen, I'm not talking to you about my bowel movements, but yeah. And he was like, yeah, that's what they do when you're flowing and you are meant to like get your gut back in order. You have papaya salad. And I'm like, that's not what it's for. He says, was it spicy? I said, yeah, it was. It was horrible. It wasn't. It was refreshing. But it's a fruit with a chili. So yeah, but I don't know. It was the weirdest conversation. I still look back at it now and I'm like, how did we get here? But anyway, it actually is a thing. And he was the one that was telling me, please be careful when you get massages in Thailand because if you're hungover, they're very specific where they'll push on pressure points or whatever that releases the toxins from your hangover and it makes you feel 10 times worse. So if you are hungover, don't get a massage because they know what they're doing and you're just going to end up feeling like a bag of shit. And I was thinking, oh my God, I would never have thought of that. But anyway, I got back to my friend's bar, the brew house, that afternoon for happy hour. And there was this random guy sitting next to me, and he was so lovely. He spoke really good English, but I don't know where he was from. And he decided, like, I don't know, he was ordering amazing things. She sent some deep fried sushi to my table, which I'd never had in my life. This friggin' sushi roll was phenomenal. And he was eating like expensive cheese board thing from Italy. I thought, how did he get that? I don't even know. He starts giving me cheese and crackers off his cheese board. I'm thinking, you can't make this shit up. Like, I've met the most craziest people in the 24 hours of being here. And then I looked down at my foot and I'm like, that's not right. And I said to my friend, holy shit, look how swollen my feet are. And she was like, did you put your feet up on the flight or something? And I was thinking, I was wearing compression socks, but I don't remember like lifting my feet or anything. I walked around the plane a few times. Like, I wasn't completely sitting down the whole 12 hours. So I had a couple of drinks. It was all fine. Even old mate next to me brought me a few birthday beers. And then it was like dark. And she says to me, do you want to go to my massage parlor and I'll get one of the girls to give you a lymphatic massage on your foot to see if we can drain some of this fluid? And I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want to. I'm scared. Literally after what old mate said to me earlier about the friggin' pressure points. So I don't know, you guys. It was like 8 p.m. All of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm overtired, I'm overstimulated, I've got way too much culture. I'm in a strange place. It's friggin' Friday night in Bangkok. And I'm getting walked to this fancy ass friggin' massage parlor. And she's got some bloody masseuse that's going to help fix my feet. It's the most craziest conversation. So she starts rubbing my feet and I'm so ticklish. I friggin' hated it. But for some reason I fell asleep. I don't know how long I was asleep for. Everyone I told the story to was just like, Dani, you could have been like mugged. But nah, it was in a respectful environment. Like, God, there was like 15 females that were massaging tourists. I didn't pay a single cent. She wouldn't take my money. And then afterwards, I ran back and I just instantly needed to pee. And I don't know where I was. So I ran into this hotel. They had the most exquisite bathroom I've ever seen in my whole life. It was a big public toilet thing. And I thought, I've got really bad, understanding that Thai people pee in holes or, I'm so prepared for a terrible toilet that every time I went into an establishment and it was a nice toilet, I was like, oh my God, this is weird, because I've heard some horror stories, you guys. But anyway, I came out of this establishment and I was just standing there and I thought, Friday night in Bangkok, what else do you do? I just had a bloody foot massage. So I started walking and I don't know where I ended up, but I was just in this random club and I don't know, all of a sudden it was 2 a.m. and I was sitting there thinking, holy shit, I went out at 3 p.m, hit the happy hours, just kind of leaned into this whole city life thing. And then all of a sudden I was back in my hotel room at 2 a.m. And I'll remind you, I also made a second visit to the 7-Eleven on that trip as well. So the whole fleecing 7-Eleven at friggin' midnight was definitely a thing. I definitely filled a few bags while I was there. But the next morning I was on my way down to the Gulf of Thailand and I was very excited. But I feel like I'm really enjoying telling you guys about this trip and I'm only sort of getting started. So it's 40-something minutes so far and I actually think I'm going to wind this up here before we get into island life, because obviously city life, Dani, is really fun. But also me actually getting to Thailand, that was in its own adventure. So I think I'm going to wrap this episode up here and then maybe I do have to do a part 2 and 3 because you've still got the Gulf of Thailand and Phuket to talk about, and a shitload of fun stuff happened between those 2 locations as well. Anyway, I think it's 10 episodes till I wrap this whole podcast up, but stay tuned because the rest of this series on my solo adventure is going to leave you guys we didn't expect anything less because I'm only warming up. Anyway, great to be back. Please drop me a message. Let me know what you're thinking about what happens next. And I will drop you another pod next week.